Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we are officially ditching the guru hype. We're going to dive straight into the unvarnished, by-the-numbers truth about e-commerce profits in 2026. Because, let's be honest, everyone online makes e-commerce sound incredibly simple, right? At least until your money's tied up in inventory or your ads just randomly stop converting overnight. So we're going to look at exactly what it takes to actually launch and scale using hard data, realistic fees, and step-by-step profit and loss breakdown.
FBA or dropshipping? What is the true cost? Seriously, which model actually makes you money in 2026? Both of these are marketed constantly as these flawless, low-risk paths to financial freedom. But the harsh statistical realities tell a very different story once you factor in rising customer acquisition costs, inbound placement fees, and supply chain logistics. Let's pull back the curtain and see what's really going on.
We've got to start with the cold, hard startup costs. Dropshipping starts around $500, while Amazon FBA is going to run you $1,000 to $5,000 up front. Dropshipping is famously cheaper to get off the ground because you aren't buying inventory up front. You get a store, some initial software, run a few test ads, and you're in business. But Amazon FBA requires a much heavier upfront investment. You're laying out $1 to $5 grand to cover bulk inventory, freight shipping, and Amazon's inbound placement costs before you even make a single sale.
But here's the catch. Dropshipping's lower financial risk comes with punishingly thin net profit margins, usually hovering around 10% for operational stores, mostly falling somewhere between 5 and 15%. Meanwhile, Amazon FBA yields a far superior 25% average net margin once your products stabilize, usually landing in that 15 to 30% range. You are essentially trading upfront capital for a much thicker profit cushion.
Just so we're completely on the same page, dropshipping is listing products online without holding inventory. A third-party supplier ships directly to the customer. Picture a little stickman entrepreneur. For dropshipping, our stickman is holding literally nothing but a laptop and running a lightweight ad campaign on TikTok or Meta. When a customer orders, our stickman pays a third-party supplier who then ships the item straight to the buyer. You're a marketer. You're a middleman.
Contrast this with Amazon FBA, which is buying inventory upfront and shipping it to Amazon, who stores, packs, and ships orders for you. Visualize our stickman again, but this time, he's lifting a heavy box of bulk inventory. That inventory gets shipped directly to an Amazon warehouse. When a customer places an order, Amazon's massive logistics machine kicks in. They pick, pack, and deliver the product in 1 to 2 days. You own the inventory, but Amazon handles all the heavy lifting and the customer service.
Section 1. The Tale of Two Sellers. The $500 dropshipping profit and loss.
Okay, I want to put you in the driver's seat for a second. We're going to do a financial teardown of two hypothetical sellers in 2026. First up is our dropshipper, starting with a strict budget of $500 for their storefront, domain, and ad testing. Let's say you sell 100 orders at $25 each. That brings in $2,500 in revenue. Sounds great, right? But wait, your supplier charges you $18 per unit for the product, and shipping, boom, $1,800 is gone. Then, platform fees and payment processing eat up another $375. Out of $2.5 grand in revenue, you're walking away with a net profit of just $325.
13%. That is the crucial takeaway here. You're left with a razor-thin 13% net profit margin. Because you're buying units one single item at a time, your supplier costs are incredibly high. And you know what that means? Almost zero room for error. One single return, a sudden spike in your ad costs, or a delayed shipment from your supplier can completely wipe out the profit from multiple successful sales.
Section 2. The Tale of Two Sellers. The $5,000 Amazon FBA profit and loss.
Now let's track the parallel journey of our Amazon FBA seller. This stickman boldly invests $5,000 up front for 200 units of bulk inventory. Step by step, here's the math. You sell your 200 units at the exact same $25 price point, which generates $5,000 in revenue. Because you bought in bulk, your cost of goods sold drops dramatically to just $10 a unit. That's $2,000 total. Amazon takes a 15% referral fee of $750, plus an FBA fulfillment fee of $850. Add in $100 for storage and inbound placement, and your net profit sits at a very healthy $1,300.
26%. The true power of FBA economics rests entirely on this margin. Yes, parting with that upfront cash was scary for sure, but your per-unit manufacturing cost is significantly lower. That higher upfront risk translates directly into a much thicker profit cushion, giving you actual room to absorb returns or run promotional discounts without going into the red.
But we have to talk about the reality of cash flow, because it's a massive differentiator.
Dropshipping gets you paid almost immediately. Week 1, you make a sale. Week 2, you see profit. FBA, on the other hand, requires a ton of patience. You order the inventory, it spends weeks on a freight ship, slowly navigates customs, and finally checks into an Amazon warehouse by week 6. It takes roughly 6 to 8 weeks before your first profit cycle actually completes. FBA is definitely a waiting game.
Okay, reality check time. FBA isn't perfect. In 2026, there are serious margin killers you absolutely have to account for. Fulfillment fees have increased by 3 to 5%. They've introduced new inbound placement service fees, and they are strictly enforcing returns processing fees. If you launch a low-quality product with a return rate higher than the standard 8 to 10% average, which happens all the time in apparel or electronics, those returns will devour your 26% margin before you even know what hit you.
Section 3. The Month 6 Compound Profit Showdown.
Let's look at the compound effect over time. What happens when both of our Stickman sellers take those initial profits and diligently reinvest them into their businesses for 6 solid months? Month 6 dropshipping yields about $1,950 in cumulative profit. But month 6 Amazon FBA, they are sitting on over $3,900. Because the FBA margins are literally double, that seller can reinvest and compound their cash twice as fast as the dropshipper. Over time, the numbers just completely run away from the dropship model.
And the gap widens even more by month 12. A solo dropshipper usually hits a hard operational ceiling around $6,000. Scaling dropshipping means managing more vendors, more shipping delays, and essentially just multiplying operational chaos, all on incredibly thin margins. FBA, however, scales incredibly smoothly past $20,000 because you're leveraging Amazon's logistics network. You just send in larger pallets of inventory, and Amazon does all the heavy lifting.
Section 4. The verdict. Which model wins?
So which model actually wins in 2026? Well, it entirely depends on your starting capital. Step 1, if you have less than $500, please do not take out a loan for FBA inventory. Instead, use dropshipping purely as a testing tool. Launch a simple store, validate product demand through social media ads, and see what people actually whip out their credit cards to buy. But do not stay there. Step 2 and 3. Validate the demand, and as soon as you find a winner, use those small profits to graduate that product into the FBA model.
Now, if you already have $1,000 to $5,000 or more in startup capital, skip the dropshipping headaches entirely. Start right out of the gate with FBA to build a scalable brand with high margins. It is the undisputed financial winner for building a real, sellable, scalable e-commerce asset in 2026. You get prime delivery speeds, instant marketplace trust, and margins that actually allow a business to survive and compound over time.
Are you ready to scale your new business to $10,000 a month? I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Reaching a milestone like 10 grand a month in profit requires vastly different amounts of effort depending on the path you choose. At a 25% FBA margin, you only need to move $40,000 in monthly revenue. But at a 10% dropshipping margin, you have to generate an exhausting $100,000 in sales just to make the exact same take-home pay. So, which mountain would you rather climb? Run the numbers, protect your margins, and decide which strategy you're going to build this year. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.